She my best friend. She a real bad, got her own money. She don't need no woo! Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Tim Davis. This is the podcast where all three of us went on quite the adventure tonight.
Yeah, we did.
First at our local Regal Cinema Theater, and then they changed the times on us, and then we had to shoot down to our backup of the, not our local Regal Cinema Theater, but the backup option in Laurel. This is the podcast where we saw a movie, and now we're going to talk about it in the Laurel parking lot. We're going to talk about such things as, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you wait for streaming? Do you absolutely have to see it in theaters? Should you snack or nap or craft while you're sitting there? Or do you need to pay laser focused attention to what's going on the screen, or else you're going to miss everything? We'll try to get to all of those. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, we did have a little bit of an adventure, but we worked through it. We're here doing work for you, the listeners, on this podcast. We saw a movie tonight. It's called Joyride. And there's a few people in it that you may have heard of before. And Tim, why don't you tell us all about it?
Well, this one is very much an ensemble cast, I would say. The lead four are Ashley Park is our main lead. She's mostly known for, she's done a lot of theater, and she's been on a Netflix show called Emily in Paris. I wouldn't say she's a household name. Really, the only household name of the main cast would be Stephanie Hsu, and she's more of a recent breakout with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Mm-hmm. She plays an actress in this one. Their other friend, the other main friend in the movie, her stage name is Sherry Cola. She's a comedian. And there's also Sabrina Wu, who is another comedian. She plays a fun character called Deadeye. Then any other recognizable faces are in smaller roles for the most part, including David Denman, better known as Roy from The Office, is the main character's adopted father. And Daniel Day Kim shows up as someone who knew the birth mother of the lead character in Korea. He was best known, of course, being on Lost all those years ago, and he was also on the Hawaii Five-0 remake. And that, I would say, is it for super recognizable people.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So, what is this movie Joyride about? Well, it's about four people who have an adventure.
Yes, a joyride, you'd say.
You could say that. So basically, what we have is the main character, whose name is what? What's her character's name? Was that?
She was Audrey.
Audrey, right. So Audrey is an Asian woman who was adopted by white parents and grew up in a very white area. And her best buddy, whose name is Lolo. Yep. Another Asian person who also grew up in this white area. So they grew up, they were like besties growing up. And Audrey is a lawyer, and she's going on a trip to China. She does not speak Chinese. It's a work trip, and she's trying to kind of close a big deal that'll be really great for her career. So Lolo is offered to come along and help with translation. And then there is another character called Deadeye who gets somehow tossed into the mix, is going to travel with them.
Socially awkward.
She's Lolo's cousin.
She's Lolo's cousin, right? And she is going to travel with them and meet up with some online friends in China. And then there's Audrey's college friend who is an actress in China, and that character's name is
Kate?
Cat.
Cat. Mm-hmm. Yes, Cat, for sure. And so while they're in China, they're going to meet up with her, and three of the four people who aren't Audrey speak Chinese fluently. Audrey does not, so they're all going to kind of help out with translation as they go. So they go on quite the adventure in China. There's a lot of drinking. There's a lot of sex. There's a lot of drugs. Yes. They get to China. They're trying to close the deal with the Chinese business guy. And somehow it comes up that Audrey's adoptive mother is close by, and she needs to meet up with her adoptive mother and bring her to some party that the Chinese businessman's having to close the deal because he's expecting it. One of these situations where someone lies about something and then they go to great lengths to try and cover the lie. But don't worry, all is revealed in classic fashion.
Yes.
And maybe that's an obvious fashion. Anyway, so they go. The four of them go to try and find Audrey's adoptive mother. They go to the place where I guess the adoptive agency was, and they have the records, and they're like, oh, this and that, and oh, by the way, your mother is from Korea. She came here to have the baby, and then the baby was adopted. Audrey, was adopted. So then they say, well, any reason why we can't just go to Korea and find my adoptive mother?
After all the hijinks we've already had.
Yes. And they end up having more hijinks. They make it to Korea, and then they have a big fight and a big falling out. But she does find out some things about her birth mother and kind of connects with that family a little bit, and then everybody goes back home, and due to the fallout, everyone loses their jobs and does other things with their life, and then they reconcile at the end of the movie, the four of them. So I think that's all we should say about this. Todd, what is your gut reaction to Joyride?
Well,
Whoa.
my gut reaction is I love this movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious. It was hilarious in all the right reasons to be hilarious. I felt like it's a witty script with also some slapstick and some fun stuff, but it doesn't rely, and it's what I hate about modern day comedies, it doesn't rely on awkwardness.
No.
You're not forced into a laughter because all the scenes are so awkward that you just kind of have to laugh for it. I felt, maybe I'm wrong, I felt the laughs were earned. And just through, like I said, comedic timing, funny script, all that kind of stuff. Is it a little formulaic? Yes, in the sense that all movies like this are formulaic. You got to learn a lesson, and of course all the kind of lies are going to come to the front street and all that kind of stuff. But if you can do a formulaic movie and still make me laugh through the whole movie and stuff like that, then good on you. That's good, and I think it's worth seeing. Do I think you need to see it in theaters? Maybe to just support the movie if you want to see more movies like this. It's great that it's a woman-led cast, and it's great that it's representative of Asians.
Pretty much
and
all Asian.
Yeah,
cast,
I mean,
a Hollywood movie is
you
rare.
get jokes about kind of all Asian aspects of culture and all that kind of stuff, and it also is a great I think what I really liked about it is that it's a lot of the humor is wrapped up in the fact that one of these ladies is Asian, but she was adopted by white parents and stuff like that, and what that can do to your life and what that means for you and all that kind of stuff. A lot of humor came from that aspect of that single kind of storyline, and I thought it was all good humor. I laughed a lot. To me, maybe I'm just wrong, I didn't feel like there was a lull point. I felt like anytime they were getting close to a point of being what's going on here, something absolutely hilarious happened that just drew me right back in. I think there's amazing performances in this movie, a lot of incredibly great timing, comedic things going on. I thought everyone played their part so well and hilarious. And, honestly, this is going to get high marks for me. I think having seen whatever the other one was, No Hard Feelings and stuff like that, like I said before these movies came out, I think this is going to be a summer of comedies. And I think I'm going to be right on the money. And it's a return to form of what I feel are good comedies, not the crappy comedies we have today. So I like that I feel like we're moving in a much better direction of comedies. And honestly, we're all probably a little Marvel blockbuster movie burned out a little bit, and these comedies are coming at just the right time. You know, so many things. We live in a crazy world where bad things are happening all the time, and it's nice to just go to a theater and laugh, and just laugh and laugh and laugh. So, I don't feel like I can really speak any more good stuff about this movie. I liked it. I recommend it. You know, if this is not a movie that at all interests you, then sure, don't go and see it in theaters. But if you're looking for like a nice hour and a half laugh riot, escape from reality, and just laugh and enjoy your time, this is the movie for you, and you might as well go to the theater for it. Like, obviously, if you're not going to, I would say still stream it. I think people should watch this if these kind of comedies are up your alley. It is very sex heavy in comedy.
Very R-rated.
Which is fine, but that's a warning. Like, if that's not your comedy, then you're not going to like this movie. So, that's going to be it for me. Like, it's going to get high marks. I don't really have many negatives. Like, I can't really even focus on one right now. I just was so pleasantly surprised by this movie. And it had me enthralled the whole time. It had me laughing most of the time. Like, and not just like, ha-ha. It was like several scenes got huge laughs out of me. Big old chuckles. So that's a win for you as a comedy. And a win for me, really. So that's it for me. Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have a ton to add to what you've already said. You really hit all of the bullseye here, because this movie is just a joy. Like, it's in the title. It's like you said, it's sharp, it's funny, it's witty, it's, you know, it doesn't waste time in a good way. Like, the plot moves along without dragging, and some comedies, you know, pacing can be an issue, but I just felt like it clicked from the beginning. You meet the characters early, and it establishes their relationships with each other from the start, and it's just off to the races from there. And like you said, everybody hits their part well. Everybody's funny in their own way. There are relatable moments. There are, you know, like, just humorous, like, real life situations, and also way over the top silliness, but it all works. Like, it's hard to balance that sometimes, and they had no issue doing that. And like, I can't praise it enough. I'm with you. It felt new, even though it, you know, there were formulaic moments, but it felt like a fresh voice, you know, as far as a comedy goes. And I think it was just super clever, super silly, you know, everybody committed to their parts. Yeah, like I said, I don't really have anything extra to add. It's just, I think everybody played their part, and it all came together to be a really joy of a movie. Matt? This one's hard.
You know, I think that what I come back to in describing this movie, I thought of this a couple times during the movie, and I was thinking, like, if The Breakfast Club was a sex comedy,
Yeah,
there's some similarities between that kind of buddy film, relatable characters.
different types of personalities coming together.
So that's part of it. Like, and that's to say that I think the chemistry between the four main characters is amazing.
Yes.
Like, that is a highlight of the movie. Is just how well they play off each other. The timing, the comedic timing, which is a big thing for me.
Sharp movie. Yeah. On
Point all the time. I think, you know, you're right, Todd. There's no low points to this movie.
No, and there were rarely any jokes that missed. It was funny.
Yes, we were all cackling in the theater.
The audience was cackling.
Well, the hardest laugh, I feel, came in the first, like, 5 seconds of the movie.
Yes.
And then you're just off to the races.
It's
like,
just established.
I mean, everything's funny, but the first real laugh you get, it's just out of nowhere, and it just sets the tone for what you're in store for.
It really did.
Right. Yes. There's plenty of absurd comedy in this movie, especially revolving around sex. It's a very sex positive movie. You know, I feel like in past sort of older school sex comedies, you would have gotten like some oh my goodness type of laughs, like, oh, I have to laugh at that, it's so awkward because it's sex. There's nothing like that in here. It's all like, here is sex. We think it's good. We're doing this thing, and we're playing it for laughs at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great part of this movie too. And we haven't touched on is like there's also this kind of human element. Sort of, there's some sweet emotional parts to this movie as well.
It's not just comedy.
You know, it is about the relationship between the four main characters. Yes, they have their fight, and then they come back together, and that's sort of the that felt a little Breakfast Clubby.
Yeah.
But it was a believable fight within the setup of the characters that they had kind of, when it comes to light, the things that are said, you could see how it got to that point, even though it's, again, they have to have the fight.
Yes, for sure. But there's also this other story about Audrey finding her birth mom, and how that's resolved and wrapped up. It's a little, it's very touching as well.
I would add the underlying theme of this movie is identity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Not just with Audrey, but with all the characters kind of establishing themselves. Even if some of them are pretty positive of who they are, still interacting with other people kind of helps them all kind of figure themselves out.
Yeah, and be themselves, the same self that they are inside, outside, for some of them. I love this movie, and I don't. I'm already dithering over if I can give a sex comedy a really high rating.
Yeah, but it was,
and I think I can.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And the only negative thing I could say is we have the setup of lies or untruths or whatever that come to light and cause problems or cause a lot of
friction
problems when they're trying to be resolved without coming to light. But that's that's the conflict of these types of movies, and you're always going to have something like this. But I do feel like it was done in a fresh way when you have a four women ensemble type cast doing hilarious stuff. I don't know. It almost reminded me of like, I was trying to think of like where did I laugh so hard? And like it almost takes me back to like a Dumb and Dumber type of situation.
All in on.
Although I would say that Dumb and Dumber relies more on awkwardness than this movie does.
Fair. Yeah.
Anyway, I loved it, and I'll leave it there. I think if you don't mind sex jokes, a lot of sex jokes, then you should see this movie.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one rating system.
Yeah.
But I walked out of that theater going like, this is how it's going to be.
I'm ready.
Okay.
How many vagina tattoos
Thank you.
would you give this movie? Which is such an incredible, funny thing in this movie.
And there are a lot of clever jokes peppered throughout that are, even though you think it would be a joke, they'd run into the ground, they keep finding a funny way to...
0 being the worst because, well, you got nothing and how boring. Then 5 being the best because, well, that's a lot of vaginas and a lot of tattoos.
The junction of many things.
Matt?
Start us off.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that, this podcast is about gut reactions and how we feel about the movie coming out. And unlike the guy who sat next to me, who was completely stone-faced the entire movie, but he sat through it.
He sat through it.
And then he got up and walked out, and he remained stone-faced.
Immediately. Like, as soon as the credits, he was
the rest of the audience was laughing like crazy.
Everyone else in the theaters is busting out, and this guy who was next to me was like, not having it.
He must not be a fan of vagina tattoos.
I guess he's not, but... Unlike how he felt about the movie, obviously, I came out feeling great. I was happy to have seen it. I was happy to have traveled to Laurel to see it when they canceled our showing in Columbia without telling us. And so coming out of this movie, I felt like what I saw was something that that made me happy. So I'm gonna go pretty high here and say this is a 4.5.
Wow.
4.5 vagina tattoos out of 5.
One of our highest ratings of the year.
Yes.
Nice. Tim?
I think I am right there with you. I might not be as high as you were, but I did definitely enjoy this very much and was pleasantly surprised because I feel like the trailers didn't focus on the right parts. I will say 4.2.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't stress enough that this movie's, like, the comedic timing of this movie and the script and the acting, it just all work in its favor.
Together.
You know, like, we all, like, laughed at No Hard Feelings, and then this was, like, a different level of laughter, consistent laughing and stuff like that. So, yeah, not at all. It's two different types of comedies. Like, I definitely thought the script for this one was just much more tight and just, yeah. And so, I mean, mine's going to be a high rating too. I landed on a 4.4.
Nice.
And that's saying something because I really didn't want to drive down here for this movie.
Yeah.
Like, when they canceled our showing, I was just like, you know, like, I could go home.
So
I got a long trip after work tomorrow.
Yeah, the movie redeemed it.
And when we came down here, I was, like, starting to enter such a bad mood. And I was like, why did I agree to this? Blah, blah, blah. And then, like, you know, you get your first laugh of the movie. And, and I was like, okay, I'm in. And I think the marketing for this movie was genius because they don't, unlike other movies and a lot of movies nowadays, the best parts of this movie are not in the trailer. Like, they toned down the trailers to just show and every trailer was so similar. They didn't show a whole bunch of new stuff with all the trailers. It just was like you get a grasp of the story, you get a couple of laughs in the trailer, but they saved all the good stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Almost, I think every major laugh they saved that you don't get to see in the trailers, and I thought that was pretty genius. So, yeah, I'm at a 4.4.
Okay.
Very strong.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned No Hard Feelings, which I think we all enjoyed that movie.
We did. Yeah.
I felt like this was a step above in like every category that No Hard Feelings came at you.
Yeah.
Right.
Where we were like, oh, that was good. Oh, I'm glad they did that. Oh, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This movie was like, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
I topped that. I topped that. I topped that.
Yep.
In all the different categories. It was just more and better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really cool.
Ratings reflect that.
They do. All right. Well, any last thoughts before we close out here?
I would go back to saying, as far as seeing in the theater, is it a theater must? No, but I think this is the kind of movie that benefits from a crowd because I think comedies really play in a theater when everyone's laughing because then you're more likely to enjoy it when you hear other people laughing around you.
Yes.
Well, and there's an aspect that we don't talk a whole lot about because a lot of times we're seeing movies that don't need us to say it. But
correct.
To me, these type of movies, like, since we find it so good, it's like I would encourage people, if you're interested at all, go see it in theaters because that's how more movies like this get made.
Yes.
Yep.
If you don't go to the theater, the studios think it's a failure, and they're like, well, we're not going to do that again. And then it's like back to what we all know and are tired of seeing. So this is how you get new movies, almost new genres, new actresses, new actors, new writers. This is how you push forward in movies, is going to see the movies that are pushing the boundaries of what's already been there.
Right.
And then this movie deserves that note of, this is a great comedy. If you want to see comedies move in this direction, you have to go see the movie.
Yep.
Or else they're going to revert back to awkward stupidness that kills me. I hate those comedies. Like Bridesmaids. It just kills me that so much of it is just awkwardness. Like, there was not one forced awkward laugh from me in this movie.
Great. Well, I suppose that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we saw the movie Joyride, and we gave it an excellent rating of 4.3. 6, repeating forever, which is our highest rated movie this year.
So fitting, considering what the vagina tattoo is.
Yes. This, I think, I was scrolling back. I think our last in theater movie that was higher than this was Top Gun Maverick last summer.
Yeah, you're not going to get me
So.
to.
No, we're not gonna go about
I
that.
love that movie.
But
I've
this,
probably watched that movie probably 6 times since the theaters.
Yeah. So, but you know, this is an exceptional comedic gem, and you should see it. So, and I think that's what we all think.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you, listeners, for listening, subscribers for subscribing, downloaders for downloading, and please continue to
General well-wishers for well-wishers.
Yes. Everyone out there who's doing something, keep on doing it. And we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da-da.
da da da.
Da-da-da.